Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review The Axeman of Henderson County, where a small town gets the axe.
Written by Cindy Parmiter and directed by Larry Parmiter, The Axeman of Henderson County stars Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Major Harris, and Jeremy Ambler, and is about an axe-wielding maniac who wears a creepy black mask and goes on a murderous rampage in a small town.
So what did we like? I felt that the Axeman was a good killer. He had a good look, he had a good presence. Being called the Axeman, he actually used an axe.
We did watch another film called Axeman, which the killer didn't use an axe, so this was refreshing to actually see him use an axe. I liked how competent and how aware he was of his surroundings and stuff. Like, he knew that he was doing bad shit.
He was dressed all in black, he had his leather gloves, his ski mask. He made sure that he would leave no prints and no indication as to any physical features that people would be like, oh, it's just Bobby who works over at the canning goods store or whatever their town may have.
Canning goods. Like that. I did like Hacksaw Jim Duggan's cameo. It was actually a longer cameo than I thought it was actually going to be. He plays the mayor of Henderson County, just like the Hacksaw Jim Duggan everybody loves.
Well, I'm sitting here looking at a newspaper with a letter printed on the front page telling people to play music so they won't get their heads chopped off on the next full moon. Well, I was wondering, is it April Fool's Day over there or what?
We didn't get to see a hoe, though. Although we're going to get into the kills later, I actually enjoyed that we saw the kills. Whether it was actually seeing the axe enter the person, or if it was just slashing them from the back, they didn't cut away and they didn't do anything off screen, which was a nice touch for such a low-budget film.
Considering this is a micro-budget film, completely done on $5,000, I think the amount of locations and the actual locations they were able to lock down was impressive. They used stores, a diner, a coroner's office, a hospital. I imagine this was shot in a small town and they just kind of asked for some favors. It was very cool to be able to have that many locations in a small budget film like this.
The most impressive for me was the fact that they had an actual ambulance show up on scene. You know how hard it is to get a legit ambulance to come on a film set and be in a film? What are our favorite kills?
My favorite kill happens at a pizzeria. We've got Jimmy, this big guy, and he gets the back of his head sliced by the Axeman, and it looked like a sweet little mohawk.
My favorite kill also takes place in the pizzeria. It's one of the servers. The server actually fought against the Axeman, and the first thing she does is grab his axe. She lost it immediately and then died, but the kill was nice because she got sliced across the neck and blood splattered out. But I liked that she tried.
It's the thought that counts, you know? Well, sometimes. Not in this case.
Not in this case. Now, what didn't we like about this film?
I'd like to reiterate, this was a micro-budget film shot on $5,000, and the things that we're going to talk about aren't necessarily because of the budget. This is all stuff that could have been fixed regardless of budget. I'm going to start with the camera work. So essentially, almost every shot, they zoomed in and then maybe zoomed out if somebody walked in just to give them headroom and stuff. And this is the kind of thing that could be fixed in editing by cutting from the wide shot, just make a cut, find the close shot, make a cut, and then join them together instead of showing us the zoom. And that happened on most shots in this entire movie.
What made it even worse was the fact that they were shooting on autofocus. So as they're zooming in and out, it's refocusing on different locations and you're losing the focus on the character. There was at least 30 shots where the character talking was not in focus.
There's too many things out of focus in this movie. Back to the editing, a lot of things were edited very weird and very poorly. Either scenes were kept on for way too long. Almost every scene, I would say.
Anytime a scene was going to end, they kept the shot on for at least 2 seconds too long. Normally hold it for a couple frames, give that smooth transition to fading out. When anyone left a room, it would focus on the door they left and then dip to black. What was on screen is what annoyed me the most, and that was the constant establishing shots. We had a good montage of establishing shots of them driving around the town for about 5 minutes. And then right when it faded to black and we're like, oh, it's done, it went back to more establishing shots.
There was a lot of talking between the sheriffs and the deputy sheriffs and stuff, and nothing really happened. At the beginning, the Axeman killed 3 people or 4 people. And then he didn't do anything else. He wrote a couple letters, but it didn't really matter. They talked about some jazz music that didn't mean anything in the whole movie. There is no ending to this movie.
The ending is text. And they fool you because at like the 50-minute mark, you see a really cool kill and then it goes to text. And you're like, is this really over? This is the end of the movie. Nothing has been answered. We don't even know what's going on with the Axeman.
But luckily, we come back and they do a really long, weird scene at a graveyard. And then the sheriff gets a call and has to go to the next town. And we don't learn anything else about the Axeman. The sheriff never is ever in a confrontation with the Axeman. The Axeman just kills people and leaves.
But the audio was terrible. Very terrible. It kept cutting in and out of room tone to not room tone.
Got people jumping out of their skin. Phone's been ringing off the hook since we got here.
The dialogue was not leveled.
We have two dead in here. That one and another one on the back.
The music never fit the scene. There's so much wrong in this audio department that there was not one bit of audio I enjoyed.
I think the absence of sound is the worst thing you can do in an independent film, and it happens more often than not these days, and it's driving me nuts. Go on YouTube, watch Film Riot, and you can learn a lot of things. Now, I talked about the camera work earlier, but this is one rule that's very important when you're having a conversation. It's called the 180-degree rule, in which if you're shooting two people talking, you need the camera on the same side of their face, so when you switch back and forth, it looks like they're talking to each other. This movie threw that out the window, and they were completely breaking it, and it just makes it look like people are looking in the wrong direction, and you don't really know where everything is in accordance to each other. It's the first rule of filmmaking, and they broke it, and I think that the camera guy needs to do his homework a bit.
Camera guy's got to do his homework. Audio guy has to do his homework. I get it. Sometimes people like to play songs that don't really match up to what's going on in the scene to change the mood a bit. But when I'm listening to like Dancing of the Sugar Plum Fairies and a guy's just walking around a murder scene when I know the Axeman's not there, it's so out of place and very tacky.
The movie was tacky in general, but it didn't have enough comedy in it to be a comedy.
So what are our final thoughts and ratings?
Now, knowing this is a super low budget film, I had no expectations whatsoever. There are a lot of technical issues that could have been solved regardless of budget that just weren't. The story simply did not exist, and there was no conclusion to anything. So it just seemed like a bunch of different shots put together for no reason. So I'm gonna give this film 0.5 nameplates placed perfectly out of 5.
Perfect.
I agree completely with Jay. Even though this is a micro-budget film, the stuff I'm gonna hate on it has nothing to do with the budget. Even if you have the best camera out there, they could have been shooting with a red camera, and if you throw out all principles of photography, all principles of cinematography, no matter how much money you have, it's not gonna look right if you don't follow the rules, and they're there for a reason. The story was really weak. I didn't really know what was going on because everything was cut out of order. So it's really hard to get involved in it and really want to follow what's happening, which is sad because this did have some potential with a possibly cool killer and a cool idea. They just didn't deliver it correctly. So that being said, I'm gonna give this film 0.5 nameplates perfectly placed out of 5.
Perfect.
As always, thanks for watching. Like this video and comment below with another movie that you've seen that has a wrestler star in it or cameo in, but not Santa's Sleigh or See No Evil 1 or 2. To stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond, make sure you subscribe.
Perfect.